So hello and welcome to another AutoCAD tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to see how we could create the gasket. So really the main focus of this tutorial is to see how we could use chamfer and the arc tool in AutoCAD. And of course we will also see how we could create this 4 circles using array command. Okay, so I will start the lesson by going to new AutoCAD ISO, open, switch off the grids, and in this case I need a rectangle. Yeah, so the rectangle would be 240 by 170. So I'll start rectangle. Starting point will be 0, 0. So that's from the center of the UCS, and the other point or the rectangle will be 240 for X, for Y value would be 170. Okay. So to create this chamfer effect, I will use under fleet. There is a small icon that gives me the chamfer. So when I click onto chamfer icon, the first thing I need to do is watch out for the settings. So the current settings right now is distance. There's 2 distance. Distance 1 is 0. Distance 2 is 2 zeros. So what we are talking about here is from here. Sorry. It's a little better here. So this distance, so the first distance from that point to that point is 30, and from that point to that point is 30. So you could have 2 distances. Now you click onto chamfer and say distance. So the distance 1, let's say, is 30. Distance 2, I'm going to do 20, just to explain how the chamfer tools works. So in here I need to say what will be distance 1. So if I can click onto this line, so that will be distance 1, which will be 30. And if I click onto that line, that becomes distance 1 and 30. So that's now I've selected as distance 1. So in that side is 30, this side will be 20. So if I go to linear, and you could see that side is 30, whereas this side will be 20. So that's how the chamfer tool works. So coming back, I will undo everything. So now we know how the chamfer tool works. So chamfer, you could have also angle. Yeah, so I'll create another tutorial which just shows how the chamfer tool works. So for now will be distance. So the first one will be 30, the second one will be 30. And then just like the fleet command, I could also use polyline. And what polyline does is you'll go and create a chamfer on all the edges. So that's well and good. So I've created the chamfer. Now it's all about creating this arc. Now the arc, we know it's 170.2 radius. So when you see a circle or an arc, you have to make a decision. The decision that you need to make is whether this is a circle, or whether it's an arc, or whether it's actually a fleet. So it could be one of those 3 things. So you have to make that decision. So in this case, it will be an arc. So when we come to AutoCAD drawing arc, AutoCAD gives us lots of different type of arc, and each arc is different. But there is something very important. On each arc, there is a sequence of how this tool could be used. So in this case, we go radius. So there's only one arc with a radius, and it says start and radius. So we need to click onto first the start point, then we need to click the end of the arc, and then we need to type in the radius. So that's how this tool works. Okay. So the first thing what I'm going to do is, we know we want the radius of 170.2. So I'm going to come in, draw the arc in here. So what I'm going to do is this. Which I think what will be the best way. Okay, so I'll show you two ways of creating this. First of all, I'm going to, if I click onto this line, the rectangle, can you see that everything is highlighted into one? And that's because AutoCAD is treating this rectangle as one piece. But there is a tool called Explode, and what Explode does is it will break this rectangle into individual lines. So in this case, instead of it will have 4 for each side, plus 5, 6, 7, 8. So there will be 8 lines. So there's 1 line, there's 2 lines, there's 3 lines, there's 4 lines. What's the advantage? Now the advantage is I could delete that specific line. If I didn't explode this, then what would have happened is, let's say this is one piece. If I want to delete only that line, when I say delete, the whole thing will delete. So I have to use Explode tool to break this into pieces. Okay, that's very good. So I could go and create this arc. Yeah, and look at this, how it works. So the starting point I will show here. I'm just tracking, because if you look at this drawing, there's a gap of 20 and there's a gap of 20 there. So I cannot start at that corner and finish at that corner, and there's a gap. And if you look at the way I'm clicking, I'm not starting from this point, I'm starting from that point. So I'm going to say arc, show that point, I'm not clicking, start tracking, and then type 20. So, oops, sorry, something has happened. So let's try again. Arc, show it, start moving, and type the value 20. That's better. So I started from there 20. So what I need to do is do exactly the same thing. Show this point. There's something wrong with my mouse. Okay, switch that off. Show that point again, the end point. Okay, that's good. And then drag it this way and type 20. Now, when you see the arc, only when you see the arc, type in the value, which is, we said 170.2. Okay. And then what I could do is I could go and draw my line. In fact, what I'm going to do is switch off this nearest. And I could draw my line. Can you see that? So that was the starting point, the end point. So the arc right now goes anti-clockwise. Now, if I type here units, you will see right now the arc is going, if I go direction, so it's going from east anti-clockwise, and if you want things to work clockwise, you need to select that box, and everything will be clockwise. But for now we are happy with this. So in this case I'll do exactly the same thing this side, but I'm not going to delete. Shall I not delete? Okay, yeah, I will not delete this. I'll leave it as it is, but I'm not going to select start from here. I'm going to start from here because the arc will go anti-clockwise. So arc, which is start and radius, the starting points, I track, can you see there's a track there, 20. So I pick that point, again show it, no clicking, come this way and type 20. Okay, what happened is my cursor went in the wrong direction. So it's better to sometimes to switch this auto on. So click in there, sorry, no click, just show it, move this way, 20. So I picked up that point, show it again, no clicking, come this way, 20, and you picked up a point. Now when you see the arc, I'll delete, switch off this. When you see the arc, you type in 170.2. Okay, and then you could go and say trim, press enter, that line. Okay, and we could go and do some measurements. So that's 20, and of course that would also be 20. That's good. What I could have done is I could have done the mirror, but of course I wanted to show you how that arc works. Now, creating this line again is going to be straightforward. So what we could do is we could use an arc, and the arc is going to be 37 and the distance is 20. So I would say I want to start now. If I do it this way, so the arc would go here. So really what I need to do is start in point will be this side, so I'll type 20. The end will be on this side, type 20, and the arc would be 37. I'm going to use mirror for this side. So mirror this, press enter, the midpoint. Now if your midpoint is not on, you need to make sure, come to the snaps, midpoint is selected, and this icon is in blue. Yeah. So if I switch it off, you would see that the midpoint is off, but I could see the quadrant. Okay, so even if I switch off the quadrant, then it won't show me nothing there. So if you don't see the snap, make sure the first thing you do is mid is selected, and the icon is also in blue, not white. So select that, you say no, and that should be done. Let me just do that again, just in case. You say I want to mirror what? Select object, press enter, midpoint to midpoint. Yeah, 2 clicks. You say no. It's asking you, do you want me to delete that? You say no. And then you say trim, press enter. You could trim these 2 lines. So that shape is coming up. Really what is remaining is the inside circle and that circle. So for the inside circle, maybe what we could do is we could have a reference line, and this reference line would give me the center. So there's the midpoint. Well, in fact, I'll tell you what, there's another way of actually getting that center point. I could say I want a circle, track it, come down. AutoCAD remembers by highlighting that point. You could see there's a small cursor, and then come to this point again, start going this way, and it will intersect. There it is. That's the center. Since circle was selected, let's do it again. First I said circle, where I'm tracking it. So come down from the center, so sorry, from the midpoint, this way, and where they meet, you have to be a little bit slow. If you go too fast, you might miss it. You select, and of course that circle was 65 in radius. Yeah. Okay, so the next part is to draw this circle. Now this circle is, you could see where it's been located, really down to that point. So you could see straight down, so it's there. So I'm not going to draw a line to find that circle. So what I'm going to do is, and the size of the circle is 10. I'm going to say I want a circle. Again, track it. Come down this way, and where they meet, draw a circle of 10. Okay, that's well and good. However, when it comes to creating the other circle here, yeah, I'm not going to go and create the same way I did, and instead I'm going to use array tool. So I'm going to say array, yeah, this is going to ask me how many columns. So first of all, I do have 2 columns, and the gap between these 2 columns would be that value 180. So I'm going to say the gap, select again. The gap here would be 180. Good. Okay. Now for rows, I need 2 rows. And this value have to be minus. But minus what? Of course, now minus from there to there, that's the size. So I'm just going to cheat now by going and measuring. So I'm going to say from the center to the center is 110. So in this case, I'm going to say this is going to be minus 110. And I'm happy with that. So I press enter. So you could see how we created, we used to create this circle. I used the tracker. That was an arc with the tracker. So if I could just quickly recap what I did, the arc, start, end, and then the radius. But you got to remember the direction I created this. Finally, I'm going to use the hatch. So there's the hash tool. Really the easiest way for me right now is to click onto that icon. It doesn't have a name, but it's called hatch settings. And it's the type is predefined. It means it's just straightforward, the name explains. So I don't know the names. If you don't know the names, you click onto this icon and it gives you these symbols and you choose one of them. So in that exercise I showed you, I chose this honeycomb shape. So I click onto the honeycomb, and where it says pick point, click onto that, you come and select. So in this case everything is good. Let's say that scale was good. Sometimes it might be too dark, so let's say if it's 0.1. There you go. So what it means is those numbers are so small you can't see them. When this happens, you select, click there, go back and change that scale. So in this case it was 1. Sometimes what would happen is that scale would be so big that you might not be able to see. So in this case I could still, if I change that to 50, I could still see something. But sometimes you will not see, or you will see some just line like this, and what it means is that the scale is wrong. Okay, and that's it. So there will be a video which will also explain about individual tools. So I'll explain more about hatch later on. There's lots of things to look at, how you select and what all these buttons means. And so yeah, so if you like, again as usual, if you like the videos, please remember to subscribe, and I'll put more videos. Okay, thank you.